I like what I've seen from him, and I agree with you. Like, he has that. The body language looks good to me. The body language looked good against Cadiz too. Actually, you know what? Like, this entire Castilla crop, I mean, it's one of our better ones in recent memory.
Yeah.
And they all look comfortable. Everyone from Arribas to Miguel Gutierrez to Blanco. And with Blanco, there was the covering for Marcelo thing, but he also dropped to clear. Like, he was popping up at the far post to clear crosses coming in. He even had one really beautiful cross to Militao. I think that was one of the Militao headers, was actually a cross from him. And even like couple of the through balls that he overhit, they were well intentioned. I think he was doing the right thing. And he also had a really good cover up from a bad Militao pass in the second half. Militao, that was his probably one stain in this game, was that some of his passes were bad and a little bit risky. The only thing that Blanco had in this game that I thought could have been disastrous was he had one gamble in the second half, trying to do a step-up intervention. He totally missed it, and Osasuna broke behind him. But again, they didn't punish us. So I think that was pretty much the only thing I nitpick with Blanco's performance. But he looks good. He looks good. What did you think of the role of the front four? Who stood out to you? And maybe do you want to just kind of go over like the differences in their positioning and stuff?
So, yeah, we had like 5 minutes in, there was a great sequence where Hazard, Vinicius, and Benzema all combined around the box to a really dangerous effect. And Hazard got a cross off that the keeper parried, and then it fell to Vinicius, who passed it to Asensio, and he just kind of volleyed it. But like that sequence there and that interchange between the three of them, I was hoping to see more of that, and it really only appeared that one time, and so I was a little disappointed by that. But what we saw was Vinicius playing as the left winger, Benzema and Hazard were playing the furthest forward, and Hazard would be you could call him the number 10, more withdrawn. He would usually come a little bit deeper to pick up the ball. But if Benzema did so, then Hazard would stay high. And then Asensio was on the right wing, but like you mentioned, Kiyan, he more or less came centrally to get on his stronger left foot and just left the wing vacant for Odriozola to run up and down.
Yeah, of the four attackers, the least fluid was Vinicius, who was kind of pretty much positioned on that left side. Hazard, in the sense, like Hazard would often drift centrally, usually not all to the right, but Asensio would kind of go central right. And if you kind of look at their heat map, it's symmetrical with Asensio and Hazard, in the sense that Hazard kind of goes to the left half space and Asensio to the right half space, but both of them drift centrally as well and try to carry the ball up the field. And I've always wanted to know how you could fit Hazard and Vinicius together and have them coexist. They haven't been able to make it work over these past 2 years or so, 1.5 years or whatever it's been. Admittedly, they haven't really had much of the opportunity. Like, the sample size is pretty small still, relatively speaking, because Hazard just hasn't been around. And I always think like it's always like Hazard has to be a little bit more fluid than Vinicius for it to work, because he's more comfortable playing that role than Vinicius, who's more of a pure left winger or an inverted left winger. And today Hazard was kind of playing the role that I think you know how it would have to work. But I was impressed with his connection with Vinicius on the left. It wasn't too prolific because Hazard drifted a lot centrally, but he made underlapping runs. He went into that half space. Vinicius could pick him out, or Marcelo could pick him out. And he had some really good, confident touches in this game. Obviously, we all saw the backflip. What do you call it? A back flick through ball?
Backheel, yeah.
Backheel through ball to Asensio, which was outrageous. His off-ball speed looked good to me. His fluidity off the ball looked good to me. All that stuff looked good to me. Do you think he starts against Chelsea?
I don't know. You never know with Zidane, especially because I feel like he holds Hazard to the same standard as Benzema, like, and his love for him. So I don't know. I personally, I kind of hope they still hold off. Like, at this point, I'm still of the mindset that he take it as slow as possible with that Hazard. We've tried to rush him back so many times. Like, let's just take our time. And in this match, I agree. I thought he played pretty well. It's crazy to me how many back heel flicks he attempts in a single game. Like it's got to be like 5 per game. In the first half alone, I think he had 3 or 4, and a couple of them didn't come off, and a couple of them worked to great effect. Like when he gets it right, it can break lines and just set you free. And we saw that especially on the back heel to Asensio. And I think like Madrid's the best moments of the game came in this 10-minute period from the 23rd minute to basically the 33rd minute, where I counted we created 6 goal scoring opportunities, and 2 of those were the Militao towering headers, which I mean I just can't get over what an aerial presence he is and what an offensive weapon that is. Like it's how many games has he played now, and this is kind of the first time we're really unlocking that and unleashing it. Like he is a weapon on set pieces and something we can definitely utilize in the future. And honestly, I saw a lot of people saying it's a Ramos parallel in that he can score goals and he can get you those. He's such a weapon there, and I agree. I think I didn't know he had this. I mean, I kind of remember from his Porto days and the scouting report you and Ohm did, but like just having not seen it for so long, it was really just I was taken aback by how just powerful he is and just incredible his leap and his ability to get so much pace behind those headers. But just that I just want to finish off with just saying like that 10-minute period, I felt like I was so disappointed Madrid didn't capitalize on it because we had so many chances. And even the Eden Hazard volley, like yes, that was a little bit difficult, but a player of his skill set and his level, I felt like should have been scoring that.
Yeah, I think that one. I mean, it wasn't the easiest chance, but I would have liked to have seen a cleaner connection with that one, because obviously he didn't mean to hit that one into the ground, because you could just tell the way it bounced off his foot. It wasn't like some people will actually be trained to hit the ball into the ground. Like I remember Ronaldo Nazario after his goal on his debut at Real Madrid, the one where he shoots into the ground on top of the net. He was actually talking about like, you know, you're actually taught to hit it that way into the ground sometimes, like on a certain volley, because it actually, the bounce will like totally throw the goalkeeper off. And if you get it right, it looks really good. But I could tell that Hazard wasn't trying to do that. You could just tell the way it comes off his foot. So I wanted a cleaner connection on that chance. And that's, you know, you would, if he scores a goal like that, there's a huge difference between like our post-game discussion and with or without it. Those are the margins. Like I think if he scores that, it's great, even better for his confidence to come away with the goal in that game, but unfortunately it didn't come off. But, you know, with Hazard and Chelsea and all this stuff, my personal hunch, right or wrong, is that I think he'll start against Chelsea. When we're talking about rushing him back, now he has 3 games under his belt. Only 2 of them as a starter. And then the other one was off the bench in the first against Chelsea. I think he'll start against Chelsea. I could be wrong on that. I think the problem with Chelsea is that they're so good. I mean, that's the problem. We're playing a good team, unfortunately. But there was this idea kind of building up to that game when you're talking to Chelsea analysts and the weaknesses that they have. A lot of them said, we don't want Vinicius running at Azpilicueta. And I think it's difficult to overwhelm Azpilicueta with the way Chelsea cover. Like, it's just difficult. Like, you're not really going to get into a situation where you get like Vinicius in transition against Azpilicueta. It's just going to be so rare and difficult to do. It could happen, but it's not going to be in the flow of the game. Or it's going to be like going to go against the grain of the flow of the game is what I mean, if that happens. And in the second half of the game opens up, Tuchel wisely can put Reece James there and give him some fresh legs, even though Reece James is not the strongest of defenders. So I do wonder, I'm just thinking back now to, remember that the game against PSG, that's the game where everything went to hell because everything changed within an instant, where we were dominating PSG, Hazard, Isco, Marcelo, Benzema on that left side were just toying with PSG.
Yeah.
Then Meunier tackled on Hazard, and then I think PSG scored 2 goals right in the span of like a couple minutes. It was
Yeah.
like sucked the air out of the stadium. I remember being at that game actually, and but I just thinking back to that time, if you really want to make Azpilicueta uncomfortable, you have to like maybe a solution is to kind of just have a bunch of those players there and Vinicius and Hazard and Benzema combining on that left half space behind Azpilicueta. It's easier said than done because again, Chelsea are so good defensively, but it's something that I thought of. Anyways, my hunch is that Hazard will start, but I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Zidane, we know how Zidane feels about him, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Your point about Militao, a weapon, I think you called him, in a good sense. Weapon is a
Yeah.
good thing, right? I've seen it used as a negative connotation on Twitter. I think it's a British thing. A good weapon to have. I think this is the most, I think this particular game is the first time we've really seen Militao go into that mode where he's just attacking cross after cross after cross. He had 4 shots in this game, second after Asensio, who had 5. And all of them were headers. And it's just really impressive. Like, I wonder if Ramos is in this game. He probably doesn't have that license, right, to go and meet those headers as much as he does. That Ramos would take that role. I don't know if you can get 2 center backs doing that because you leave some space at the back. I mean, it's possible. Maybe we don't see it if Ramos is healthy, but that the goal he scored, the XG on that was 0.01. Just the degree of difficulty to meet that header when you, no matter how many times you look at the replay, no matter how many times you look at it live time, he had like no space to get that off. And he also had, who was that monster at the back? Was it Adrian Hernandez, the one with the big fro?
Oh, the big hair.
Yeah. I think it was Adrian Hernandez, if I'm not mistaken. He was like all over Militao on that header too. So it was just a degree of difficulty on that was insane. And it's just been amazing to see Militao's growth over the past few games. I think I saw a lot of people on Twitter say like he was always this good. I think he was always promising, but to say he was always this good is ridiculous because this past month or so, he's taken an insane leap. My only gripe with him still is some of his passing has put the team in tight spots, but coverage and Odriozola great. Dispossessing Chimi Avila in a difficult in a time where Chimi was about to get into a dangerous position. Massive challenges overall, like defensively, and obviously the 4 headers. So this is a great Militao performance.
I'm just happy for him. Like, I think
Yeah.
It so many people wrote him off. I myself thought he was gone in the summer. Like, whether that is right or wrong, I thought there's no way he's gonna stay. He hasn't gotten any opportunities and he hasn't shown well when he's played. So I thought he was a goner. And I mean, now we're all like, this past couple months, that 50 million valuation looks spot on, if not cheap. And that's how well he's played. And you think about the players he was compared to when we bought him. It was De Ligt. It was the young center backs that are generational. And I think he's really performed at a level that makes us all sit back and admire. Like, he has been a monster. He's a beast. Like, I think we're all falling in love with him. And this is like, I'm excited. I'm excited again about this young player and about a lot of the young players coming through. And I'm trying to maybe contain that excitement and be a little bit more reserved about it because it ebbs and flows with young players. But with Militao, I'm so impressed with what I've seen and so happy for him. I just can't say that enough.
What did you think of Asensio's performance in the 10 role?